Welcome to the studio. My name is Keith, and this is Life Journey Productions. We're going to be looking at one of my favorite new toys today. That's the HyperDeck Mini. Just make sure everything's working right here. Let's put up the lower thirds. Again, to demo some different things to show my screen, I'm actually using OBS again. So if you haven't been here before, thanks for joining me. My name is Keith. I have a company called Life Journey Productions, and I reside in the Tri-Cities, Washington, which is 3 cities, but in reality, it's a bunch of different cities. Studio's a little noisy today, so I do have some limiting on, as well as making sure that you don't hear the background noise. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about alpha channel graphics for the HyperDeck Mini. If you don't know anything about the HyperDeck Mini, it's on the still. I'll pop that back up on the screen. So you have the ATEM Mini Pro, which is on the top right. To the left, top left, you have the HyperDeck Mini. And so the ATEM Mini Pro, the ATEM Mini, and the ATEM Mini ISO are switchers, as many of you probably already know. And they will play some still graphics, but they will not. In fact, this is a still graphic from my ATEM Mini Pro right now. I have the Pro. The ATEM Mini does not have a stream engine built into it, and you can't stream directly out of it like you can for the ATEM Mini Pro and the ATEM Mini ISO. But the cool thing about the ATEM Mini Pro and ISO is that you can stream directly from them. I'm not doing that today. I'm using it just like you would an ATEM Mini. And that means I'm using the USB-C out into my laptop so that I can use OBS, because I will be doing some other things like sharing my screen. I want to be able to leave channel 3 and 4 open for the HyperDeck, because you use channel 4 for the alpha channel. So we're going to look at my setup here real quickly. I do have some other videos where I went into the HyperDeck a little bit more thoroughly, but we haven't talked about making alpha channel graphics, and that's so that you can in the ATEM Mini and ATEM Mini Pro, and even if you were going to just use the ATEM Mini through like OBS, using it as a web camera, you would still be able to use the HyperDeck to do animated graphics, as well as the ISO and the Pro. Again, the big difference is the ISO has the ability to record all 4 of the HDMI channels and other things, like it'll make a file so that you can open it up in Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve, and be able to make some edits after you've done that. I could just record on all my cameras and get a recording at the same time, bring that into Adobe Premiere and record it all together. Today I'm recording on OBS, and I usually just record on my ATEM Mini Pro. You can do that as well as the ISO, and I can only on the Pro record the main program out. And also the ATEM Mini does not have a multi-view, and you have that multi-view in the ATEM Mini Pro and the ATEM Mini ISO. And we'll do more videos on all those features. Today, I really want to focus in on lower thirds graphics. So let me show you really quickly my setup here. Going to change over here to this other camera. And so now I am on my Canon 5D Mark IV. I just left my EOS R, and the reason I have this camera is it lets me talk to you as well as I'm operating my laptop and running OBS. And so if we were to bring up this camera right here, you can look down at my desk now and see the ATEM Mini. It's on the right in the picture, and you can see that I have the back filled, and I did a video on what's back there, and you can look at the still that we have tonight in a little bit, and I'll show you kind of how it hooked up. Next to that is the HyperDeck. This is what we're talking about right here, and it has a little mini screen on it, and you can see that I have it hooked up right here. I have two SDI cables coming out of it, and I'm using this converter. These converters are SDI to HDMI. Let me adjust the camera just a tad bit here without showing my monitor. And so these are how you convert the SDI outs on the HyperDeck, because that's what it has. It'll do up to 6G, so you can record on it through the SDI input all the way up to 4K 30 frames per second, which is really cool. But I have two of these, and I'm converting SDI to HDMI, and I can power those through USB. So the yellow cable is HDMI coming out this side, and the other side you see the SDI going in, and then you can actually come out on the other side of this little device. So anyway, that's what I'm converting to channel 3 and 4. And then back here, you can see I have one of the SDIs coming out into channel 3, and the other one is coming out to channel 4, and that is the alpha channel. And what alpha channels do is they help you get better graphics when you are doing graphics over your keying. So what happens is it blacks out, or basically cuts out the background, so you get clearer, more concise graphics. And so we're going to jump into this shot right here and look at how it's hooked up in the ATEM software control, which you can see right up here, the name of that is. So the first thing you have to do is make sure your HyperDeck is connected. So we're going to click on this little button right here in the bottom left-hand corner and open that up. And you can see that my HyperDeck is set up. You have to put in the IP address, and I have it set so that my IP address is changing every time I boot up. So I'm always using a different IP address, and so that is correct. And once it's correct, you can hit connect. I'm already connected right now, and then you have to tell it what main input you're using. And so I have relabeled this to channel 3, which is the HDMI third input on my ATEM Mini Pro, and I have it titled HyperDeck Fill. Then you would save that, which I already have, and now you go over here to the upstream key, which is on this screen, and you can see you have the palettes up here, media player, output, and if you go back to palettes, you come down to your upstream key, and then down here is your downstream key. Right now, this is playing my still graphics, and you can see those graphics in a little bit, but up here, I need to change this. Instead of being media player 1 in fill source and media player key and key source, I need to change this to it would be input 3 and 4, camera 3 and 4, but I've changed the name of those, which you can do. And I've changed it to HyperDeck Fill, just makes it faster, and HyperDeck Key. So I click on that, and then key source would be HyperDeck Key. And then again, you could go up and save that if you wanted to, so that you have all of this set up in here. And then once that's set up, then I can very easily turn these on and off. So I have the ability to turn my input source here, and we're going to show you that graphic, and then we'll show you how to create one. So let's go back off of my desktop and back to our camera source. And we will actually, let's change to the ATEM Mini camera source here. And I'll turn back around and we will play this graphic for you. So once you have that set, then you would add that graphic, which is a alpha channel graphic. We're going to look at that. You would add that into your HyperDeck. It has 2 SD card slots, and you can play from 1 card at a time. And you have to create a graphic if it's going to be animated with a alpha channel to get really good graphics. And then you can, once that's loaded and it's all set up, which mine is loaded and set up, you can just go up and turn on the key and then hit play. And I'm going to go to my media player, and there we go. You should be seeing oh, let me change this. Sorry, apologize. Turn this off. The downside of using OBS is you have to share that screen. So I'll hit that again and play it. So this has an alpha channel behind it, which just makes things fly right, look right, and key out right. And so if I did not have the alpha channel, then it just would not look as nice. And that's the big thing about the HyperDeck Mini. One of the reasons that I purchased it is to be able to do motion graphics at a live event when I'm just streaming from my ATEM Mini using my laptop. I can still go out of OBS, but then again, I'm not doing all the conversion and all of the rendering inside the Stream Deck and going right out through the Ethernet port to the web world. You know, I could go to any streaming location through the through the ATEM Mini Pro by going out the Pro or the ISO Ethernet port, and you'd have to use a USB-C in the ATEM Mini. So if you're thinking about purchasing an ATEM Mini, or you're thinking about purchasing a HyperDeck, some of the things that you need to know is that you can do graphics and you can do lower thirds and you can do a lot of this stuff, even play videos from your computer, your laptop using OBS. But the advantage of the ATEM Mini Pro for me would be if I went to do a live podcast or a live recording event, set up all my cameras, plug it into ATEM Mini Pro. If I needed to play a video clip or play something on an overhead, I can use the ATEM Mini Pro to send the signal, but I would need the HyperDeck to be able to do any flying graphics or video clips. And I use it all the time for video clips, but I also wanted to use it for motion graphics. Now, if you buy some of the higher end equipment from Blackmagic Design, outside of the ATEM Mini Pro and ISO, then you'll have some of those features, but they're so affordable, well under $1,000 for the ISO, even further under $1,000 for the ATEM Mini Pro, and under $400 for the ATEM Mini. And then the HyperDeck is under $700, and it is worth it. Again, you have to get a couple tools. You have to be able to create alpha channel graphics, which we're going to look at now. And you also have to be able to convert, because you don't have SDI inputs in the ATEM Mini Pro, you do have to convert the SDI out of the HyperDeck to HDMI, and that's why you would buy those converters. So let me pop that little still up here again. Let's turn these graphics off, and we'll look at the still image. And so again, you can see that you have the ATEM Mini Pro on the right, and the HyperDeck Mini on the left, and you can see the two SDI card inputs. I have an SDI card right now just in slot 2, and that's what's playing that graphic. And we're going to take a look at that in After Effects here in a minute and talk about how to render an alpha channel. And then you can see the hookups. I'm using 2 of those converters. I only have one on the screen, but I'm using 2 of those converters going through from the 2 outputs out of the back of the HyperDeck there on the bottom middle. And I'm coming out of that, going through the converter, and then into channel 3 and 4. Tonight, I have channel 1 playing my EOS R, so that's my main camera, and that's the camera we opened with. And then my Canon 5D Mark IV is going into a CamLink adapter into my laptop, so that I can use the channel 2, channel 3, and channel 4 for other things tonight. Now, I probably won't use channel 2 tonight, because what I did is I had my one of my laptop screens going into that, but I decided to go ahead and use OBS. It's just easier in OBS to share my screen. So back to the main camera. So what I want to do now is take you into my software and show you exactly how you can create a flying lower thirds like I showed you tonight. I'm going to take you into the After Effects file, and I'm going to show you how to render that. I'm not going to build anything tonight. I am going to build some animations later in the After Effects demo just to talk about building lower thirds. But tonight I really just want to talk about rendering it with an alpha channel. So what we're going to do is I'm going to demo you the steps after I have the graphic made, which I've already made, the one you saw tonight. What do you do next? And that's what we're going to look at right now. And it's not going to be a long video live stream tonight, but I do want you to be able to see these graphics. So and also not have to look at my back very long. So The nice thing about OBS, let me just say this, is that I love the fact that you can do slides. Like I have the slideshow with all of my slides, which I really like. And so I'll pop that up here real quick and show that to you. So I like the fact that you can just scroll through slides. And so there's the one that we're kind of using tonight. You have two of the adapters, SDI to HDMI converters, going into channel 3 and 4. And again, I don't have camera 2 hooked up like this. I do have it going into my laptop tonight using the Cam Link adapter. It's an HDMI to USB. It'll do up to 4K, 30 frames per second. And my ESOR will do 4K. Out of the HDMI out, so I can use my Cam Link if I wanted to record directly to that. If I want to go into my HyperDeck from my EOS-R, I'm going to have to get a 6G adapter. So I'll go from HDMI to SDI or 6G so that I can get up to 4K, 30 frames per second recording in the HyperDeck. So here's the back of the HyperDeck again. You got power, Ethernet, USB-C. Then you have the ability to hook a number of these together. You can have an HDMI out, and I go out to a monitor so I can see the picture a little bit bigger. It does have a picture on the front of the HyperDeck. And then you have the two outputs, and then you have the input for recording. So the two outputs are what we're using tonight on the top right. And then you can see a picture of the SDI to HDMI converter, and those are really, really good under $40 now if you don't need the power supply, and I think it's $10 more if you do get a power supply. They just started sending these out. You can power them through USB, and I power two of them through USB, which is great. I still have the power supplies. They didn't offer it without them, so I've got a couple extra power supplies floating around here, but you can buy it without the power supplies and just power it through HDMI. And then you have the different things I'm using in the studio. And again, kind of a layout of the back of the HyperDeck. So let's look at Alpha Graphics now and kind of walk you through how you put all that together and how you create these Alpha Graphics. So let's open up After Effects here on the screen, and you can see that I have my graphic plane here. So I've already created it in After Effects. You can see the different layers right here on the left-hand side. And so if you've done any video editing, working in After Effects is very much the same kind of process. You have different layers, and you can put everything together just by building it on this screen. Once you have it built, then you hit the space bar and it renders it, and that's what this green line is, and gets it all ready. And then you can hit the space bar and it'll stop playing, and that's just for you to be able to check it. And then right here, you want to make sure if you're going to create an alpha channel that you don't have anything in the background, and that first layer would be right up here on top. I don't have anything. On this first layer, I just have different items here that I have, and so that's one layer. And then I'll go into the graphic that I have going tonight. Thought I had that open. Let me go in here and open that one up. So here's the graphic I have playing tonight. So any of these graphics, as long as they don't have a background, then you can render as a alpha channel graphic. So the way you do that, like I said, if I hit spacebar, you can see that this starts rendering the graphic. You can see that right here. It's going green as it goes left to right. And then once that's done, which I always render at first, just so I can make sure everything's playing correctly, then you always make sure that you don't have anything in the background. It gives you this black background just for building. You don't have to build a black background or a color background unless you wanted that. So then you check it, make sure that it has a clear, transparent background. That's what these little boxes represent. And then you would go down here, and I just use my mouse to choose all of these. Then I go up to File, top left. Then I click on Export right here, and then I'm going to export it to the Media Encoder queue. And so I'm sending it there now, and give it a minute and that will open up. And I may have to slide that over to the screen that you guys are watching. So as that's opening up, you can see it's continuing to render, and I can hit the space bar at any time and it would stop that. So now, once it's done rendering, it's going to appear right up here. So let me go in here and stop this. So it's not going to appear up there until it's rendered. And so rather than make you wait for that to completely render, then it would appear up here. And then we would be able to render it. And the way you set the alpha channel is right up here in this screen right up here, where you're going to choose where to send it to. Let's just let this render here. It might take a minute, and then we will send it up there. So as that's rendering, let me look to see if there's any questions tonight on the channel. Get back with you here just so you're not looking at the rendering. That's boring. So let me just double check YouTube and see. I'm pretty sure I have set enable comments, and I don't have it set to replay, but if you do have a question, I will be answering those at the very end of the live tonight. But until then, we'll just continue cruising along here. So one of the other things as that's rendering, I wanted to just say is that once you choose to use the fly-in graphics on the ATEM Mini Pro ISO and just the ATEM Mini, you do lose one of your keys. So it's going to be dedicated to using the channel 3 and 4, creating an alpha channel. You also lose 2 of your inputs. I can play just video footage and still graphics. I like to play video footage from my HyperDeck just using one out and going into channel 3. You could choose whatever HDMI input on the ATEM Mini Pro you want, but I will always use channel 3 as my main video input. And then when I want to do graphics or fly-in graphics or animations like that, that's when I will go in and add the other channel to HDMI 4. And then now I'm using that full media player, the key and the fill is assigned to the HyperDeck, and I can still play video footage. So if I had a video and I had an animation on the same disc, they do have to be encoded in the same format. So it'll have to be the same frame rate, the same size, the same codec, or your HyperDeck will not see it because it needs to play those the same codecs in the same frame rate. So make sure that whatever you render, if you want 3 or 4 graphics on a SD card, make sure you render them all exactly the same. Now, obviously, if it has an alpha channel, but it still has the same size and frame rate, you're good to go. So let's go back to the other screen, and you can see it's ready now. So let's send it over one more time here. Stop this from playing. I'm going to bring my player back to the front, and then one more time here. I'm going to export this to the media encoder. Hop over there, and now you see the files right up here. And so right down here at the very top of the screen, let me share this with you. Let me go through that one more time. There's going to be more than one of them up here, but let me go back because you didn't see that I didn't share that on OBS to the live stream. So let me go back in here. So again, it's all the way rendered. There's a little spot right here that isn't. So I just hit the space bar and it would write over that little green space. Not sure what happened there. And then I'm going to bring my playhead all the way back. I'm going to go over all 3 of these layers. I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to hit Export, and I'm going to hit Adobe media encoder. You could also go to add to render queue. I just like to use the media encoder. It's a lot easier, especially for making files like this one as a alpha channel. So here they are, and you can see that I can choose different codecs, and then I can go over here and choose different rendering formats, but you want one with alpha channels. So if you choose QuickTime and Apple ProRes 444 with alpha channel. So you can see that you have these different options that say alpha channel, and those are the ones that you need to use because you've got to have an alpha channel. And again, what the alpha channel does is, so if I was to render this, choose the location right here. So again, QuickTime format. This is the file that I'm sending, this podcast motion graphic. I'm doing it to QuickTime Kodak. I'm doing Apple ProRes 4444 with alpha. Again, because it's one of the ones that uses alpha, and the HyperDeck reads this really easy and renders it, plays it really easy. And then the location, obviously. And then I would put this on an SD card. I usually render directly to the SD card. And so, and it takes a little while. So we're going to go ahead and choose my SD card right here. And I'm going to hit save. And then what you're going to see now is the ability for me to choose this play icon up here. So I'm going to choose this channel again. And I'm going to hit play. And so what this is going to do now is this is going to go render everything that I put in this queue. So I'm going to hit stop here, but it would render it right to that SD card. So I'm going to click no, because I don't want to hurt the stream tonight by trying to do too much at the same time while I'm streaming from OBS and recording through OBS. So back to this camera here again. So back to the ATEM main camera here, and pop up the lower thirds. So with that lower thirds on, I have again, so I would take that SD card and I would pop it in. Actually, let's just show that. So I would take that SD card. Take this SD card out after I put the information on it. Again, it goes right in this slot, and pop that in. I'll just pop it in channel 1. And then let's actually go up here and show you where that shows up in the graphics. So we'll minimize all of this. We don't need After Effects open anymore. So here's where the file appears. And again, this is to set up your keys. I have HyperDeck in my upstream key. I have HyperDeck fill key. Go to the media player. Here's the clip. And from here, I can see the clip, right? This is my Life's Journey podcast motion graphic. I can hit play. I can rewind. I can hit play right now. It tells you how much time's elapsed. It tells you how much time is remaining. It tells you how long the clip is, so you can keep an eye on that. That's another reason I love how the HyperDeck integrates with the ATEM Mini Pro, so I can just hit play and it plays, and I can queue up graphics. So if I had 4 graphics, they would all show up here as long as they had been rendered with the same format. Again, QuickTime, Apple ProRes 444 with an alpha channel, without. The HyperDeck would read anything that's in the same format. So once you have that set up, then you can turn the graphic on, and it's on right now. And so let's go back and let you see that. And so again, there it is. So I can hit play, and it's going to finish playing. There you go. And so flip over there real quickly. So you can see that it is playing right here on the screen, and it's counting down. There's 4 seconds left, and then it's going to start playing again once I hit the play icon, and I can turn that off and go right back to the graphic playing. And this graphic has a number of animations in it right here. Things are flying over, and again, that's pretty cool that that graphic does all that. I'll quit having my back to you. I apologize. So again, I'm able to show the slides. I'm able to show these graphics. I'm able to have these animated graphics by setting up the HyperDeck using the 2 SDI outs, one being the main channel, the key, the other one being the fill, use an alpha channel to fill in the background. And if you look at my last video, you can actually see a picture on the multi-view of what you see on your multi-view screen for channel 3 and 4. Channel 3 just looks like a flying graphic, but channel 4 shows you the alpha aspect of that channel, and it's just like a cutout. It's like someone took the graphic, laid it over a piece of black paper, and then cut it out, and then laid that piece of black paper on a white background, and so that's what you see. And you can look at my last video right here under my studio tour, and I actually showed my multi-view so that you could see what an alpha channel looked like. But tonight I really wanted to focus on setting things up, getting things hooked up right in the ATEM Mini Pro software, the HyperDeck being hooked up right, transferring SDI to HDMI through the converters so that you can actually plug into the back of your HyperDeck. Some of the higher end Blackmagic Design equipment has SDI inputs, and that's what the HyperDeck Mini was originally designed for. They have, I think, 4 decks now. They have a 4K deck. They have a newer HyperDeck that has 2 hard drives in it, and I think that's the Pro, and then they have the HyperDeck Mini, and they've had a number of firmware updates, and I really like what they have available in the HyperDeck Mini now. I think it's a great investment. Again, you don't need it if you're going to just go everything from your laptop or your PC and use OBS like I am tonight. But if you want to unhook the laptop from the USB-C, if you want to record directly from the ATEM Mini Pro and the ISO to an SSD drive, and I do that. This is my SSD drive right here. It's a scan disk, and that's what I plug into the back of my ATEM Mini Pro when I'm not using the USB-C as a webcam, which I'm doing tonight. So you'd unplug the webcam, you'd plug in a USB-C cable. This is USB-C to USB-C. And these are fast enough for me to edit off of. So I could literally put a whole bunch of information on here, plug it into my laptop, and edit directly from it. I don't have to transfer files back and forth. I just literally use this. It's super fast. They're not inexpensive, but that's what I use when I'm recording directly from my ATEM Mini Pro to the SD card. So again, there's so many advantages to what is available to us today and the equipment that you can have in a studio. I'm going to show you some more gear in the videos here very soon. And let me put that slide up real quickly. So we are going to continue to cover this list of equipment. So we're going to be talking about the iCan monitor. We're going to be talking about the SM7B. I've already kind of reviewed the cameras in another video here on the channel. We're going to talk about my laptop, the ASUS ZenBook Pro. It actually has an extra monitor, and that's what I'm running, OBS. It's a very fast computer. It's a lot less money now than it was when I purchased it over a year and a half ago. So and then we're also going to talk about networking. I've already covered the the Rodecaster Pro. We will break down more things on that to come. I have the Hosta switcher there. We're going to talk about internet. And I don't even have pictured here the ATEM Mini's streaming bridge, but we did a video on the streaming bridge as well. We also are going to break down how to stream outside of your network, and that's a video coming up very soon. So I hope you'll continue to tune into the channel. I hope this helps you understand how to make alpha channel graphics. I hope you are learning something from this channel that's been beneficial to you. you know, we are demoing microphones in some of the videos. Like I had the Rode, the Pod Mic by Rode in a video just recently. It sounds amazing. This is the Shure SM7. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, the benefits and detriments, and a lot of other things that are not even on those pictures that we use on a regular basis. And I'm also excited to have a video coming out, I think later this weekend, early the week, that's going to be on doing some high-key photography and a little green screen trick that we're going to do in that video. And I hope you'll enjoy that. You'll get a chance to meet my second oldest son, Nathan. He's into snowboarding and mountain biking, and we decided to do some high-key photographs together. So that video is coming out. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight to this channel. And again, I hope that you have learned something that will benefit you in the future. And I will be back with you here on YouTube with another live stream next week. And I hope that you will join me then. So until then, man, have a good night. We'll roll some music, and I'll bid you adieu.